Oh my gosh. So I have really good news for someone, and this is beautiful. But before I start, let me just plug in my phone. And you know I always do this, y'all. I just want to say I had an amazing experience with God last night. And I'm going to explain something quickly to you guys, okay? When I talk about my experiences with the Holy Spirit and certain things that happen in the spiritual realm, or certain things that I've experienced with him, and I just want to say that when I say it, I'm not saying it to try to prove myself to people who don't believe that I hear from God, or I'm not saying it to throw it in someone's face to make them feel like, oh, look what I have with God and you don't. The reason why I say it is because I like to go into details about certain things to let people know this is the type of relationship you can have with God, and to also help people who have similar encounters but they're not quite sure what it is. Like, there's people that have these encounters with God and they're not fully walking with God, but they have had encounters with the Holy Spirit where they've heard him before, but because they have not given their life to him, it's almost like, was that the Holy Spirit? Or it's almost like, I experienced this before, but I don't know what it is. It's for me to explain to people and to show people who are going through similar things, like, hey, this is what it means, this is what's really going on, etc., etc. And because it also helps me give the full context of the word and how I received it and all of that. And I'm a very detailed person. That's just how I am, and I'm all about honesty. So it's not me doing it to make people uncomfortable, because God did say that sometimes when I do talk, he did tell me that sometimes when I do talk about like my personal experiences with the Holy Spirit, sometimes it does make certain people angry. Like, he did tell me this, because they think that I'm trying to either prove myself, or because they may be frustrated or something. But I want to just let you guys know that's not why I go into details about certain things. Certain experiences are so beautiful. I try to let people know, hey, this is an experience that you can actually have when you do pray harder, or you do work on your relationship with God. My pastor talked about today going deeper in your relationship with God, not being too comfortable where you are, going deeper, as in not being afraid of the unknown, not being afraid to use specific gifts, like, you know, and that's exactly how it's been with me and my relationship. Okay, so I just wanted to make that clear. God gave me so much. Oh my goodness. So this incident happens a lot to me. Maybe like once a month I'll experience something like this, maybe once or twice a month. I don't really count it like that. But oftentimes I don't like to give messages based on dreams, because dreams can be your emotion, dreams can be your imagination, dreams can be your thoughts before you go to bed. Dreams can be anything that you're feeling, and dreams can also be twisted and manipulated also, right? So oftentimes if I do speak on anything relating to a dream, it's because God came through audibly, because I know his voice. He came through audibly and confirmed to me what I had already seen in the dream. Usually he comes through when I'm waking up. So as I'm waking up and transitioning out of the dream and I'm transitioning into being awake, I'll hear him talking about what I just saw in the dream. Or he'll say something that doesn't even relate to the dream, which lets me know it's a message that I have to put out, but it has nothing to do with the dream that I just saw, because the dream that I just saw may have been my thoughts, my emotions. You see what I'm saying? So oftentimes I always wait for him to confirm anything that has to do with the dream, if I put out anything relating to a dream. Sometimes he'll do something so cool and this is when you have like a dream in a dream, as in while I'm in the dream I'm having visions while I'm in the dream, or I'm sleeping in my dream and receiving a prophetic message in my dream, and he will come through and confirm that dream that I'm having in a dream, or that vision I'm having in a dream. Or one of my favorites, being able to hear him audibly while I'm in my dream, as I'm in my dream I'm receiving instructions from him while I'm in my dream. And that happens not all the time, because like I said, usually when I get up out of my dream is when I hear him. So I'm already leaving. I've already left the dream. But when I have experiences like that, it's so incredible and remarkable, and I know I have to pay close attention to what's going on around me. If he's coming through while I'm in the dream, I know it's prophetic, right? So I want to share something with someone, which is so beautiful. And he actually told me to write everything down when I got up. So this was a dream, a prophetic dream, okay? And it was so crazy because I was actually in someone's church. I don't know whose church this was. I don't even know who the pastor is. I just know I was at someone's church, okay? And there was a pastor, very tall, slim, chocolate color complexion gentleman that was preaching. And there was one point, it's like God was showing me in the past how he was preaching in the past and how he looked in the past. And he had the top of his hair like an ombre, like it was black and then went blonde, but then he cut it off as he matured. And this time when I saw him preaching, like this present moment in the dream, because God gave me a vision of him in the past in the dream. So a vision and a dream of his past and how he looked in the past while he was preaching, compared to like going back into reality in the dream, how he looks now, and his hair is completely shaved and he was just preaching, right? Low fade cut, what kind of thing. So he was preaching and he was talking to a woman about her marriage, and he was prophesying to someone, and she was sitting in the rows in the church, you know, like the chairs, the benches, and she was sitting there, and she was sitting next to me, and she's a little bit darker than me, I don't remember exactly what she was wearing, but her hair was either like short like this and curly, and she was sitting next to me, but she wasn't talking to me. And then next thing you know, I heard him prophesying to her, and he said something about, you know, your husband's gonna come and he does love you, and he is gonna accept you for everything that you have in your life. He's going to accept it. Don't be afraid. And she was questioning, like, oh, I don't know if that's for me or not. I don't know if this prophecy is for me. God, is the prophecy for me? Yes or no? Is it for me? Yes or no? So she was questioning whether the prophecy was for her. So he was prophesying, but he didn't go to a specific person to prophesy. He was just prophesying through the whole congregation, right? But I knew it was for her. And she was sitting next to me questioning whether it was for her. And I heard the Holy Spirit come through in that moment. And the Holy Spirit said, yes. And I was like, oh, it's for her. I got so excited that the Holy Spirit came through in the dream and confirmed what the pastor was saying, because I remember I had a dream in the past where the Holy Spirit came through and he was giving me the answers, but the pastor was saying something completely different, and that dream demonized me. I mean, that church demonized me in the dream, in that past dream, that church demonized me. And that's a whole nother story. I already put out the message about that. But, yeah, so I was excited the fact that he said yes. So there was a woman behind me, and she was like more like a mature woman, as in like, she looked like she was about in her 50s or something. And I went to her and I said, oh my gosh, the pastor just prophesied to this woman, and she doesn't believe that the pastor was prophesying to her. But God just told me that audibly, yes, that the prophecy's for her. And the woman looked at me and she was like, she was kind of like, and you know, to be honest, she gave me like hater vibes. So the pastor started coming down the steps, and I ran to the pastor. I'm like, Pastor. I'm like, I just spoke to God about you, and everything that you were saying just now to one of the women in the church, you know, she was doubting it, and God just came through and said, yes. So everything you're saying, you're telling the truth. God is speaking to you. And the pastor was like, I like you. Like, he was basically like, I like you. You know, I like your vibes. So he knew right away that I did hear from God. So the woman now, I grabbed her hand. I'm like, God said yes. I'm like, yes, this is for you. God said, this is for you, that this prophecy is for you. I'm like, come, let me show you something. So I grabbed her hand. I ran with her to the back of the room in the church. And it was so weird because they went from the back of the church room, and then it ended up being her bedroom. It was like weird. So I ran into her bedroom, and, as we're in our bedroom, I'm like, where's the list? And she's like, oh, the list? I'm like, yes, where is the list? And she's like, the list that God told me to write? I'm like, yes. She didn't have it anymore. I think she wrote a list of things that she wanted about her husband, or a list of things that she was praying for, but she didn't have the list anymore. So I'm like, God said you need to write a new list right now. Write a list of the things right now that you're praying for. Write a list of them. So she started writing the list, and I noticed that on the list she started writing children, a bunch of children, but it wasn't just the children that she had. She started writing a list of the other children in her life. So this is a woman that not only has children, but she has children that she helps. I'm not sure if she's a teacher if she has a ministry for kids. So I wasn't sure if it was like a basketball team, football team, or sports team, but she works somewhere. She has her own kids, but there's something that she does in her life where she is responsible for other children. So it could be like foster parenting, group home, or something like that. But I knew right away when I saw her writing it on the list, she expressed that it was like a main concern. She was like, I don't know if the husband that you have for me, God is going to accept the fact that not only do I have kids, but are they going to accept the fact that I work with other children as well, and they're a very important part of my life. And if you accept, if you want me to marry this person, they have to accept the fact that I also have a bunch of other children that I work with, not just my biological children, but I'm responsible for a bunch of other children. Like there was a long list, like probably at least about like 10 to 15 children that she's responsible for. So basically the man that God has for her would have to be okay with whatever profession she's in, or whatever she's doing charity wise, or whatever, you know, interaction she has with other children. He has to be okay to accept that part of her life, right? And that was her biggest fear. Like that was one of her concerns. Like, God, is, you know, the person going to accept that? So as she was showing me the list and as she was expressing these concerns to me, I then told her, okay, God now wants you to pray over this list every single night. That's the instruction I gave her. I said, pray over this list every single night. And I said to her, and God said, yes, your husband is going to come. Your husband's going to accept the responsibilities that you have for all these children. Right. So like I said, I didn't know for sure, like, why she had so much children on her list. I know some of them were her kids and some weren't, but like I said, I honestly feel like it has to do with foster home, group homing, or it could be maybe she took in someone else's children and she's raising them, like, you know what I'm saying, like adopting or something. And that was one of her concerns. Or maybe it's a career she has where she's, you know, could be a shelter, could be something, right? But I just know that the children that she's helping they're so important to her that she had concerns that, you know, it would have been too much for her husband. But God said, no, that it won't be too much for your husband. And yes, your husband's coming in. So now as I woke up from that dream, it was like God said, write it down. So I wrote that down. Actually, no. God said, write it down. You write it down then. God said, write it down. I didn't write it down. I was disobedient because I was so tired. And I went from that dream into another dream. And the other dream is another video. Okay. But when I did wake up from the other dream, that's when I actually wrote it down. I remember God saying, write it down. And I wrote it down because he said, you have 2 messages from these dreams. So I did get 2 messages from both dreams. And I wrote it down. After the second dream, I woke up and I wrote it down. So I wrote them down. But whoever this message is for, you'll know it's for you. I went to your church. Like I said, I've never been to that church. I don't even know who that pastor is. But I was in church with you and I was at your church, okay? And you'll know because it was already prophesied in church that someone's husband's coming in. And I'm giving you the second confirmation. Okay, the second confirmation or third confirmation, however confirmations you got, I'm just giving you the other confirmation. And you'll know it's your message because that was one of your concerns, the responsibilities that you have relating to children, if your partner was going to be able to accept that, right? And God said yes. Okay, so I want to give you this confirmation. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the other video. Okay, love you guys. Bye.